Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honour.
Blessing us with your great product. We were saying earlier about your start in this business because you are a trained architect, a practicing architect. And that's an interesting perspective, particularly for this conference, where we're conflating business and creativity. So how did you start? How did that transition happen? And how was your first day at the office?
From architecture to working in the family business. It was terrifying. I grew up in a shoebox, and it's, I remember as a child sitting in the shop whilst my mother and my uncle were unpacking the latest delivery. It was that hands-on. It was a natural progression to some extent. I used to watch my uncle designing at his desk, sketching. I used to, as a child, kind of copy him, so I was doing all his moves. So I was, also drawing shoes for him when I was about 8.
Because you are Manolo's niece.
Yes.
It is Uncle Lolo.
Uncle Lolo. I know. I couldn't say the m and the n when I was 3. So you kind of simplify it, I suppose. It sticks. I still call him Uncle Lolo in the office.
So you've been close to him since a child, and you know his working methods from observing and really close up.
Yes, and it's one of the most passionate moments watching him design. Because it's every part of him, every cell in him is a creative. His curiosity, his hunger for culture and knowledge, and it just happens to come out tangibly as a shoe. But he's not a shoe designer, as he himself says. So he's a creative, and I think...
You say he talks to the shoes?
He does, in the factories. He sits and he's kind of telling them stories. It's almost, they all have a little spirit, a little soul, and a little beating heart. And, everything we do is about protecting that and maintaining that and keeping that, that energy radiating from, allowing him the space to be able to do that, to, allowing, people, it isn't a consumer. And it was, yesterday someone said, it's not customers, it's people. It is people. Yeah. Because you don't have to have someone passionate about what you do and understanding what you do, and they have to be a consumer. They can just be someone who's genuinely interested and passionate. So we try and really reflect that also in the architecture of the space, in the way we structure the business, in everything we do. So I'm coming here from, I suppose, the other end of the spectrum, which is I come from a creative side, which is architecture, and I live and breathe and inhabit a creative world. And I have had to learn the corporate side. So I've never been given the...
So this was a completely fresh start for you.
Completely fresh start.
Wow.
So in terms of transferring skill sets, there's a literal one. My first day, you can see the...
So yes, this first day in this new role...
it was the very first time my uncle was unable to go to the factories, which is that's where he enjoys himself the most, and you can see it. He's very happy there, and he himself says it. And I was armed with his drawings, and I said to him, I can do this. And it was the day I decided it was that architecture had been part of my journey, and now going into the family business was my next step. I'd walked my own steps, I'd created my own opinions and thoughts, and I came in it objectively rather than subjectively, as you do if you enter a family business young. So I went with a drawing. You can see the left-hand side, that's one of his working drawings. And the reason I chose that one is it took me 3 hours to work that pattern out. And he works by drawing straight onto the lasts. And I'm a model maker, that's what I do.
Oh, so at this stage you are translating his sketches into the physical form.
Into the physical form, and I drew it, and it was the true that took me the longest, 3 hours to do it, just to draw it up, because it was so complicated. But I said to him, transferring my skill sets of, understanding proportion, construction, structure, I can do this. I can build little models of my buildings. I can visualize buildings. I can do this. But actually, the skill sets transcend the obvious into something totally different. I now I specify the business. Architects have this amazing skill of seeing the world in 3 dimensions, if not 4 dimensions. We have to visualize. We have to see the space before it's even created. And it's, we're almost 10 steps ahead of our clients, certainly as architects. And I can specify how I want the lighting to work, how I want the hot water to work. I can see it all, but I'm not a plumber and I'm not an electrician. And the way I've kind of transferred those skill sets into our business. I don't really like to call it a business because it's more of a kind of a family and an energy and a passion. But I specify how, obviously, the structure of the business, the organisation.
So you see that in a 3D form.
Yes, and it's taken. I've been doing this 9 years now, and every year it's another layer of evolution. And we don't work in 5-year plans. We work in 500-year plans, because if you work in a 500-year plan, whatever decision you make then is not transient. It has longevity. And so, I specified the business, I specified the legacy. That's what we're doing every day, and visualizing it. And, we have this amazing team who are the specialists. Yeah. So, I've got the plumber, I've got the electrician, yes. And they're the ones that are now, implementing it and taking it and evolving it, which is what we do. We don't grow, we evolve.
Yes, now you said, I read some interesting quotes from you, the CEO, which you say you're not interested in growth for growth's sake, and that an obsession with numbers can destroy brand values and the creative values. You're more about optimizing, not maximizing. I mean, that's an unusual perspective for a business CEO. Can you elaborate on that? CEO is not interested in growth. That's kind of for growth's sake.
For growth's sake. Like I say, I haven't come armed with the corporate dictionary and the corporate Bible. It's not my world. So I've had to learn instinctively and intuitively what that means. And so what that's, this slide is kind of quite, the left and the right-hand side it was an internal sketch that I did for my team to try and explain to them how we want to work and how we will continue to work. And the middle one, I just thought I'd put in something that looks a little bit more architectural. But really what we're about is very narrow and deep foundations. And really the foundations are our core values, our philosophies, our beliefs. And those are, and have been from my mother and my uncle's side, all about creativity, number one. Humility, quality, modesty, respect, and really just creating beauty, and making people smile, creating something that just radiates an energy of joy. And by protecting all of those and growing those values deeper and deeper and understanding them and communicating them more and more effectively, you deepen your foundations, you hit the more solid ground, because we're all operating in quite a unstable ground, really. Because you never know what's going to happen economically, in nature, just anything. There's a curveball thrown at us from all angles every day. So really, if you build your foundations down to the deeper core, the stronger grounding, you can load on top of that, little bit by little bit, constantly checking, is this load not going to push it too far? You have to take small steps. So
it really is the architect's mind and the architect's brain and the vision.
I think
seeing business and creativity together, which is fascinating. I mean, you say growth, not growth for growth's sake, but you're doing pretty well. Kind of the figures I saw since you took the helm in 2009, turnover's increased ×8. The revenue is 6.5 times. The employee's gone from 10 to around 60. It's working. It's something that is...
Well, commercial success, and this is something that we will try and instill in everything we do and remind everyone that we work with. And really the team is a cultural fit as well. That's quite an important part, is selecting the right people that also have similar beliefs. Commercial success is a byproduct of protection. Okay. Of protecting your core values, whatever they may be. I mean, for us particularly, I've talked about creativity and, integrity and respect. Yes, we have witnessed growth, but it's been organic. There hasn't been a numerical strategy. In fact, I find, like you said, I've talked about bottom line killing creativity. I think, we're seeing more and more creativity being harvested to fit a bottom line, and as soon as that bottom line was impacted, the first port of call to blame is creativity.
Tends to be, yes.
Well, certainly in my industry. I can only talk from
But after
my
this conference, it's all going to change.
I know.
It'll be the last thing to cut.
I'm on a crash course of design thinking. I didn't even know it was a concept until, because it's my entire life. Anymore, apparently. My entire life is thinking design thinking, creativity. So this is new to me. I was up until 5 a.m. from 2 a.m. thanks to jet lag, studying Wikipedia design thinking.
Do you have any answers for us?
Well, I love the concept of wicked problems. I don't know if you've heard about this. Wicked problems, I love that. I'm all about solutions. You've got to draw a straight line. The circle's always surrounding us everywhere. Just find the line through it. It's obvious, but then, I don't understand corporate. So.
I think you do. You certainly do, from the figures I'm looking at. But there must have been some specific initiatives you implemented, not planning to have any growth, not to increasing the business, but you've done things that have resulted in this great growth.
They've been, like I say, very organic steps. They've been a lot of synergies and serendipitous moments as well. I think if you, well, for us, we feel our way through things. So our creativity, Manolo's creativity comes from the soul. We feel our way, like I say. It's my mum took very little steps. It's about taking a step that might be a little bit risky, looking around, seeing, was that a little bit scary? Okay, what did we do wrong? What did we do right? Learn from it, take another little step. It's not about strategizing exponential growth and then actually ultimately being disappointed. There's no point in being disappointed in life. So plan for something that's going to make you happy and that you're going to see
It's a great philosophy.
But I know, but I know it's kind of contra to most directions that the conventional CEO takes. And again, it's surprising for me to have this concept of executives and CEO not understanding design. Surely, strategy is design. It's creative. Yesterday, the CEO can no longer throw thunderbolts from here up high. I'm like, I'm terrified. I think the next time I walk into a room of CEOs, I'm going to sit there quivering. But no, it's been very organic. It's been very little steps.
You've had a growth in stores.
Yes, in stores we're going to be opening 3 more this year. We're opening in.
How many have you, since you took over? You've steady.
Well, we started, I think, with about 6 mono brands around the world. This year, we'll be seeing our 16th opening, one in Marina Bay Sands in May, which is very exciting for us. And I think what's important, again, another one in terms of our physical world, is that this is all projects that either I worked on when I was still at my practice, or that my ex-partner Nick Leith-Smith works on. And the idea is...
So you designed some of the stuff?
Yes. I still very much am very involved in the design of these.
You're not the chief architect now, though?
No, I'm not. No,
You're more the client?
I left that to my... Yes, I'm the worst client for an architect. I was going to say,
you must be a nightmare for an architect. Because you know all the things they're trying to hide, yeah.
And especially also the person you worked with for 10 years. So it's like, I'm sitting there going, okay, budget engineering and detailing, and this isn't working. But the idea you can see in the top left is our Dubai Mall store, which opened in 2007. It's still actually one of my proudest designs because it's so timeless, and that really encapsulates. And we've, as a practice, probably designed 25 stores now worldwide, including shop-in-shops. So, the 16 mono brands and multiple shop-in-shops. The idea is that each store has its own creative adventure and journey for the consumer, because about 10 years ago, I was obsessed with the concept of a retail coma that the consumer undergoes. Everything was starting to become
homogeneous.
Yes, economies of scale. Creating design that is constant from country to country. You didn't know whether you were in Japan or Tokyo or Paris, wherever you were shopping. You were just in this coma of shopping and retail. So we wanted to create something that grounded you as a consumer, and it's very much about. Each one is a little living room. It's a home. Where the shoes inhabit. Like I was saying at the very beginning, they're little spirits, they're little souls. It's about, just taking that Manolo moment where he gives life to them to some extent, but keeping them alive in their home. So you're visiting them in their home, and they're hosting you. That's the idea. So you kind of experience it as well. And each store is reflective of a collage of the locality. And so in terms of its artisanry, its culture, its history, its fabrics, its society. And whilst they're sometimes a little bit more literal than other times. I mean, the middle one is in Hong Kong. Top middle is Hong Kong, and it was originally for Jakarta. It was basket weave. The left one in Dubai it's actually coral and tessellations, but also crystals of salt plains, and then the Bedouin style living and very organic plan shapes, and then I think it was about 100 Tom Dixon rubbish to gold lamps, and to kind of create a false ceiling, because it was a 5 meter high space.
Genuine ones though, no fakes?
No.
Good.
And then
so bricks and mortar is working for you?
Yes, and so it's bottom right is our Japan store, our Tokyo G6 store, which opened last year. Again, origami, the navy blue colours of the monks there, just really kind of grounding the stores and so
a DNA through all of them, but
yes. Our practice was called DNA.
Oh, I see. There you go.
It's about capturing that locality in the DNA of the space.
Just want to check if there are any questions from the floor. We have the normal procedure with the paddle wavers. I'm a little concerned about asking questions from the floor because they might just be asking for discounts. I know Agnes is twitching there. But if there is any questions that aren't about discounts, have a little wave. But I love
no questions. Oh, no.
There's a paddle waver over there, is she? Ah.
Hi, my question relates to...
Could you say your name and your background, briefly?
Sure. Vivian Liu from Philanthropy Works. I'm also one of the young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. So my question relates to the place that wellness might have.
Wellness.
So ergonomics in the design of your footwear. So, clearly they are gorgeous. To what extent in the design process what priority does, the...
Comfort.
Yes.
I actually had a question today. Sorry, do you want to finish? Is that the question? What's the priority in design?
That comfort has in the design
Everything.
Of your footwear.
If it's not functional, form over function, unfortunately, is not a reality in our world. It's function and form combined, because if you don't have comfort, what are we doing? We're not here to torture people, men or women. We're here to bring joy, and that joy isn't just as a visual object, it's also the wearing, the experience of it. So, it's everything. Comfort is everything.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's a good answer. Good question, actually. A good answer. No, renowned as the most comfortable shoes. I wore a pair once. Very nice.
I know, and you almost wore a pair today.
I wanted to wear a pair today, but I couldn't get them in my size. I have one question to close on, just to finally, because you talked about a 500-year plan rather than a 5-year plan, which I think is such a wonderful consideration. And it's about the brand, Manolo Blahnik, and the heritage and how you plan to protect that. Are there steps to build a physical or a virtual space to house the archive?
Very much so. I think, you know, it's my purpose in life is to protect the legacy. That's everything that we're about. And the legacy form part of many pieces, including the people, but, you know, obviously the physical one is the archive, which we have over 20,000 shoes. We have, you know, over 1,000 final drawings. We have, you know, thousands of working drawings and objects that Manolo's worked on and designed that, you know, my mother's
kept everything.
We've kept everything. We've kept everything. And really it's about now taking the time. There's 4 key steps to archives.
Yeah.
It's the identify. So we now know what we have, which took quite a long time to work out because it's all over the place. It's then to collate it, to bring it together. It's then to restore it, and it's then to utilize it. So we're kind of about a quarter of the way of that whole journey. The intention is the utilization is to give back, is to create a space that is there in perpetuity for the next 500 years, when we're tapped into the matrix, both virtual and real, for people to experience not only the objects, but the ethos behind what we do.
That's wonderful news. Our 500-year plan is in process. Yes. Well, Kristina, thank you very, very much for sharing the background of an architect being a CEO successfully. Thank you very much.
Thank you.